Did you know that there is such a thing as tamale season? Well, peace on earth, goodwill to men. Yes, sir, Bob, there is a tamale season. And that's why in this video, I'm going to be showing y'all how to be making tamales, authentic Mexican tamales, along with some beans and rice to go with it, just in time for tamale season so you can know how to make it in your house. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel, I teach you all about real whole grains from a biblical perspective. I teach you how to be milling your wheat, grinding your grains, consuming whole grains, baking bread, all of those things and more. And so if that is your jam, then be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. So yes, we are going to be doing authentic Mexican tamales today, at least as authentic as I know it as a gringa. But these are so good. And the great thing about tamales is they have such a rich heritage. And we are going to be using some corn and Masa Harina straight from the heart of Mexico. Thank you so much to Masienda, who keeps me in stock with Masa Harina and the beans and all of those good things so I can have the taste of Mexico in my house. And you'll be hearing more about Masienda as we go on. This is not sponsored by them, but I absolutely love them as a company, and I use them exclusively when it comes to getting my corn, my Masa Harina, those type of things for my Mexican cooking. So for those who do not know, I am a little obsessed with Mexican food. My husband and I have been to Mexico a couple times. We've even taken our family, and each time I go, there's just something more that I learn about that country and more about the food that is so uniquely Mexico. So yes, I'll be whipping up some tamales. There are multiple ways to cook it, multiple recipes to do it. I guarantee you, you can find a tamale recipe that you love. And do know that tamales are not difficult to make. They are just time consuming, which leads me to, let's just talk about real quick, the brief history, the rich history of tamales. So the reason that basically December into like November, December, a little bit into January is considered to be tamale season is because go back in history, this is also around the time that they would be harvesting their corn, and a lot of tamales are made with the corn husk. And tamales are a labor of love. And so it's something that families get together and they just have a big tamale making party, and they just make up all of these tamales. Tamales freeze well, so they can do it in one big batch, and then you freeze them to enjoy later on. But that's why this is typically seen as tamale season. Now, the beauty of tamales as well is it can be made in so many different ways. Today, we're going to be doing basically pork tamales in like a red sauce. If you do not consume pork, that's totally fine. There are also chicken tamales. There's also like cheese and pepper tamales. There's so many things that you can do to make tamales however which way that you like it. Now, the recipe I will be using is from Mexico, the Mexican Home Kitchen. I love her, Melly Martinez. I have been using her recipes for years, and I highly recommend this cookbook. It is thin. She also has a second one. I recommend that as well, but this one's really great. I recommend at least this one because this one has like your basic Mexican recipes, the tacos, tamales, flan, so many different ones, the rice, different ways of making rice. So this is an excellent one, and I will say easy recipes. They're not like crazy exotic or anything like that. So we're going to be using her recipe. And I believe she also has this recipe on her website. So I will link her website and recipes down below, but we're going to be walking through it today in this video as well. And the other thing I will be using is, of course, Masa Harina. Now, a few words about the corn. This is using nixtamalized corn, and I've done a video all up here all about why you should be nixtamalizing your corn, or is it how to nixtamalize your corn. It has to be nixtamal corn to make tamales. Same thing with corn tortillas. That's where you nixtamalize it, and you can do this yourself. Masienda also sells the dry corn straight from the heart of Mexico, non-GMO, heirloom corn, and the best you will ever have in your life. So you can buy like a nixtamal starter kit, so you can nixtamalize the corn yourself. Done a video up that here. And they also, of course, have the Masa Harina, which I love as well. The thing with Masa Harina is kind of the one exception to a type of flour that I buy, because Masa Harina Masa Harina is not a sifted white flour type thing. This right here, I can make at home. The reason why I like to go ahead and buy the Masa Harina flour is because this gets really, really fine. I am unable to grind the corn as fine as this here at home. You typically need an actual like real machine, heavy duty machine to get it super, super fine. But that's the beauty of tamales. Tamales, you can either do it with Masa Harina that you buy, or you nixtamalize it yourself. And even though that's a little bit more of a coarse grind, it's not coarse where you're gonna taste the grit or anything, but that is perfect for tamales. But if you really like those fluffy corn tortillas, I recommend go ahead and buy the Masa Harina. And they have several ones. They have the white, the blue, yellow corn, and then red corn. So for the sake of these looking like your typical tamales, I'm going to be using their white corn today. But you know, their red and blue corn, absolutely delicious, like all of them. All of them are absolutely amazing. And again, this isn't corn that you buy here in the States. This comes straight from the heart of Mexico, which is where corn originated from, and they've been doing it for thousands of years, and it is the best. I will also be making beans as well, which Masienda totally hooks me up with beans. They have unique beans that are straight from, once again, Mexico. And today, because I haven't used them before, I'm going to be using the Ayokoti Pinto heirloom beans. They have different ones, including your standard black beans. But these, I say pinto beans, these are not your typical pinto beans. Look at how beautiful and large these beans are here. These are absolutely stunning. And I'm going to be trying them out today. Just doing something simple with beans. Nothing crazy at all. I'm also kind of baking chocolate chip cookies as we go along. So if you randomly see chocolate chip cookies, that's something different. Ignore if you can, but I've got a video and a recipe telling you how to make those. But this is all about Mexican food. And we're gonna be basically like eating stupid good today. All right, so we're just turning on the camera. And this is again, my Spanish is bad. I might have my husband come on here and speak in Spanish better than I can. He's really good at Spanish. But we're gonna be doing her recipe page 113 in the red cookbook, the Tamales de Puerco. It's pork tamales. That's what we're going to be doing. So it's going to take a few hours to do that. I'm first going to get the beans started and go ahead and getting the pork going so we can start doing this. The other thing that we're going to need is with tamales, you do need to be able to steam them. Now I'm actually going to be doing it in my Instant Pot today, but you can also do it in a regular pot on top of the stove with some sort of steamer basket, because these tamales do not sit right in the water. And I'll be giving y'all tips of how to do that later on. So without further ado, let's get started with all the things. Okay, so we're first going to do these beans, and like any sort of good cooking, you measure with your heart. Okay, so we're going to take some beans. I mean, look at how beautiful. Look at how beautiful they are. I mean, those are beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All right, and I'm doing 3 cups. Now you can just typically do a pound of beans. That is 1 cup. Do know you can always cook the beans completely, freeze what you don't use, and use it later. So we're just gonna do that with, I know it's usually like 2 cups need 8 cups of water. So we're gonna add a little bit more. Okay, so you just need to monitor this. Oops. You just need to monitor this as this cooks, just to make sure that, you know, you need to add more water if you need to add more water. All right, and then this, for any sort of Mexican cooking, you will always be using a lot of onion. Now the key is Mexico is white onions, okay? You wanna be authentic, use the white onions. I'm putting a whole onion in here, and then I'm putting about 5 cloves of garlic, just roughly kind of chopped there. And then I'm going to measure with my heart the amount of salt. That looks to be about a tablespoon of salt that I'm gonna add. And then we're gonna add some bay leaves. And just know if you don't have to add the salt right now, or just add a little bit of salt, and then you can always add some more later. And then we're gonna be adding in some bay leaves. So that's 1, 2, okay, crumbled bay leaves here. Okay, so probably the equivalent to about 2 or 3 bay leaves. And now we just bring it to a high. Once it starts boiling, we then bring it down and let it simmer until it has cooked and done. And that's it for the beans. I mean, just stupid, crazy, simple, easy. Ta-da. You can do this in your Instant Pot. If you want to soak them, you can soak them. As you can see, I did not soak the beans. So we will see how long that these take to cook. They are more fresh. Do you know the older your beans are, the longer they take to cook? So if you've been storing beans like I do, if they're older, really add on that cooking time. And we're talking like it can add on an hour or two to the cooking time. But these are pretty fresh. We're going to leave this. So once it comes up to a boil, then I'm going to cover it and let it simmer. And I'll just periodically be checking this. I've given myself about 2.5, 3 hours for this to be done. And now we got to work on the pork, getting ready for that. Okay, so now we have to prepare the pork. No, I'm not going to be using all of this. This is, you can use pork shoulder. I'm going to be using some Boston butt because this is what was on sale. It's a big double pack, which is insane. Now the recipe calls for 1 pound. I'm going to be probably tripling that. So we're going to do 3 pounds. So I just need to measure all of this out. And then we cut this into cubes. We then put it in a big pot with some garlic, some white onion, bay leaf, salt, and water. And we let it cook there until it's done, about an hour. So let's get that started. And the rest of this, I'm just gonna wrap up, probably put in my freezer for later. Okay, so first of all, I'm just honing my knives. I highly recommend if you have a kitchen, you cook a lot, and you need really sharp knives, and a honing rod really helps that. But here I am, I'm just weighing this pork butt. I will say this was a lot bigger than I thought it was, and I didn't need near as much of this meat. So I just wrapped this, what I didn't use up, and put it in my freezer for later. But we are actually just taking this whenever I get it to the size. I got it to where it was about 3 pounds. The original recipe calls for just 1 pound, not enough for my family. And so I kind of trimmed off like the really, really fatty parts and then just cut these into cubes and put them in my Dutch oven as you see here. Okay, so we have a placeholder photograph right here because when I went to go edit this video, a couple of my video files were corrupted and I have no idea what happened. I actually have a brand new camera now, so it might have been my fault. I don't really know. So I apologize for no video here, but there are some crucial steps that I wanted to tell you to do that is not unfortunately going to be on video. So the first one is you need to prepare your salsa, which is ancho peppers, guajillo peppers, and you basically open them up. You need to take the seeds out. These are dried chili peppers, and you can find like in the international aisles or international markets of your in your city. And so ancho peppers, guajillo peppers, you take the seeds out, and then you actually have to soak these chilies in warm water for about 20 minutes to soften them. And then you drain them, reserving some of the water, and then you place those chili peppers along with some garlic, some cumin, and some of the soaking water to blend until it's nice and smooth. And you will see later what it looks like after blending. So you're not going for pure liquid. You're going for like a paste, but a little bit more liquidy of a paste, not a really thick paste. So you will see that later on. And most of the times, the recipes that they tell you that you follow, they'll kind of give you an idea of what it should look like. So that was done to make the salsa that you'll see later that we add into the pork. And then we also have to cook that pork, which I already told you how to do. And then we also have to be soaking our corn husk. So the corn husk that you have, you just need to soak them in a large bowl with warm water for about 30 minutes. It's because you want them softened so then you can bend them. So those are 2 steps that unfortunately were not shown. And that pork also, I wasn't shown cooking, but it did get done. I mean, it's just, you just got to make sure it's cooked. Nothing fancy. Just when it's done, remove it from the heat. So back to the video. Okay, so it didn't get the videos with me preparing the corn husk and the salsa, but it did get me preparing onion to cook the pork. So that's this. And this is what the pork was when it's done. Again, it's just cooking until it's done. And then we actually have to remove it, but do not discard the pork broth that you have in the pot. And so all that you do here is it actually says, the recipe says to shred the pork. I did not do that. My husband is not a huge fan of like the shredded pork. So I just chop it up because That's what my family prefers. Do as you want. But as you can see here, I'm just chopping it up very, very fine and setting it aside to be used for later. So we have it all diced up here. It looks beautiful. It tastes amazing. And here's that pork broth that it cooked in. And so I'm just going to be pouring it into this measuring bowl, saving it for later. And so here I'm adding oil to my Dutch oven. And then we're going to be adding in that salsa mixture that I was telling you about earlier. We're going to be adding it here and basically kind of cooking it with about 1 cup, 2 cups of the reserved pork broth, and you're cooking the salsa for about 8 minutes. And so basically, I'm just adding enough of that pork broth to thin out that salsa a bit until it's to a good consistency that I'm looking for. And at this point, my kitchen is smelling absolutely divine. Just adding some of that pork broth here. And then when it gets to, a good consistency, we just want it to be kind of liquidy. We then add in the pork and we're just kind of heating it up, letting it mix in. Those flavors are really getting to that pork. And I'm telling you, y'all, oh, it is smelling amazing. But this is what it looks like. So you can see the pork is fully coated, but it's also like not running off where it's, too much liquid has been added. So, got to work with that consistency there. And you'll see why later when we try to fill those tamales. And then here I am just checking on the beans, just seeing if they're done. So all that I'm doing is I just pierce them with a fork and then taste it to see if it's still like a peanut consistency or whether it's actually cooked through like a bean should be. Oh, look, it's more preparation of something else. So this is lard that I'm putting in here with my Bosch Universal Mixer Plus with the whisk attachment because we're wanting to put the lard in and basically beat it to oblivion. We're wanting to beat it until it's nice and fluffy. And then we add in a Masa Harina along with some baking powder and just mix all of this together. And here's where you're just gonna have to know the consistency. So what you see here is once again that reserved pork broth. I do switch to my dough hook now because now I'm looking for a good dough. And it's kind of hard to explain what you're kind of wanting with masa or with tamale dough because you're not quite looking for like thick like I like for my tortillas. So you're kind of wanting it where you can kind of spread it on the tamales. As you see here, you can see I'm checking it with my hand. And if it's still a little dry, kind of like brand new Play-Doh, I want to add more liquid to make it where you can spread it out a bit more. I probably still should have added a little bit more liquid, but I did not, but it's okay. So here we are with my Instant Pot, and this is the steamer basket thing that came with it. So we're going to put that on the bottom. If you don't have an Instant Pot, that's fine. You just want a large pot with a steamer rack on the bottom, and you add in that water with my Instant Pot. That's 2 cups of water. I have an 8-quart Instant Pot. That's 2 cups of waters that go in the bottom. And then you also want to take your corn husk. I have drained out all the water. And now we've set up an assembly line. We have our pork mixture, we have our masa dough, we have our corn husk, we have our Instant Pot. And what I'm doing here, whether it's an Instant Pot or a regular steaming pot, you kind of want to line the bottom with those corn husks just to make sure that none of the tamales get into the water because that's not good. Then the tamales are too soggy. So it's just to give it a little bit of extra protection. As you see here, you notice I didn't have to go up on the sides, mainly just on the bottom. And now we assemble the tamales. And this is where I say, like, technically, I should have made the masa dough a little bit more where it can be spread. But bottom line is you just put enough masa on the corn husk, put in some of that meat mixture, and then you just wrap it up like that, and boom, like you're done. I mean, it's just super easy. And the amount that you add depends on the size of your corn husk. But this is definitely where having other people in the kitchen can really help get this done, especially when you're making a ton of these. And so you don't want to add so much where you cannot fold the tamale correctly, because if you're not able to fold it right, then it's going to come open when it steams, your mixture get everywhere. No bueno, no good. So with each one, it all depends. And you can see the placement that I'm putting that. It's not all the way up to the very top. There is room there at that top. And I'm sure some of y'all who grew up doing this with your grandmothers or whatever probably can correct me in the comments if I'm not doing this right or if you have a different way of doing this. But bottom line, you just don't want to overstuff it. You just want to have it enough for whatever size corn husk you're doing. So allow me to show you an example of how I accidentally overfilled this. And you can see that I have trouble folding it up and it actually staying closed. And so here I am just really trying to finagle this and I just kind of made it work. But technically this one was probably just overstuffed because you can see here, like it's just wanting to come open. You don't want your tamales want to come open. You want them to want to stay closed. So just be aware of that. Just make sure you don't overfill it. And again, you're just putting it in, you fold over the sides on top of each other, and then you fold that small narrow part over to kind of enclose the bottom, and that top is left open. And again, you just sit here and do it over and over and over again. Now, here's a cool method that can really give you a fancier decorative touch to your tamales. And you're going to take one of the corn husk. I suggest a long one, not a short one like I did here. And you're going to kind of rip off kind of a narrow strip. This is much easier and it would have been better with a longer corn husk. But you're basically just going to make these little strips and then you're going to tie your tamales like you see here. And there are multiple advantages of this. One, they look adorable when they're all nice and tied. It also is an advantage, say if you're making different types of tamales. So you have chicken tamales and then also say these pork tamales. It can help you identify which one is which. So look how cute that is. I mean, really, how cute. And it helps it stay closed while it's there. And especially if you're giving these away to anyone, it helps it to stay closed while freezing or when you give it away, whatever the case is. But definitely recommend the longer strips. They do sometimes break, like this one just did, and I had to get another one, but that's okay. But it really gives it a nice, cute, like I think they're adorable when you put a tie on. I don't because Mama didn't have time to do this. We're just gonna crank these out. I'm in here by myself tonight, and so it helps you distinguish between the tamales, gives that extra special love touch, makes them look adorable. There you go. And here we go. All of the tamales. I actually had some of that pork mixture left over. That's fine in the fridge for later. These are about, I think, 30 tamales, and it's kind of the maximum that can fit into my Instant Pot. And so now we have to put them in said Instant Pot. So whatever pot that you're doing, Instant Pot, pot on the stove, you put them upright where the opening is up so your tamales do not fall out. And then you just kind of have to hold them as you kind of go around a circle and placing these tamales in until they're nice and snug. You don't want it to do like little, so little that they're going to fall down while steaming. So you're going to want to make sure that it's nice and tight. Now, there are actually some really cool methods, especially if you're doing this on the stovetop, to make sure that enough water was added because you don't want it to steam so much that you don't have any water. And so one thing that Melly Martinez mentions in her cookbook is that you can put a coin, like a penny or something, in the bottom of the pot. And if it starts rattling, you know that you're out of water. So I think that's an excellent tip there to make sure enough water was adding. So if you have to add some more water during the cooking process, you can. But if you do, don't get it in your tamales. Be very careful adding it. So I do suggest just making sure you add enough water at the very beginning. And so as you can see here, we are getting all of these babies in here, getting them nice and tight. Now you can cover it with more corn husk. I did not do that for my Instant Pot and they turned out okay. And then there you go. You have a pot of tamales that looks so great. And again, it smells wonderful. And then we just take it over to my Instant Pot. Now, the directions that I had to said to do this on high and pressure cook for 45 minutes. I think I could have done less, like 35 minutes for mine, especially because my masa was not as moist as I think it should have been. And so they kind of came out a little bit drier than we like, but they still turned out delicious. And then with the Instant Pot, you do want to let it steam on its own for about 20 minutes, and then you manually can release that steam and then pull them out. You will know when your tamales are done when they easily will come off of the corn husk. If you're steaming them on a stovetop, these will probably take about an hour to do. And here we are. Here are the beautiful beans. I mean, look at how beautiful these beans are. And so they're done. I already have them. We're putting some cilantro on the top. And these beautiful bowls I got from Mexico. Sorry, I have no link for them. I got them in Mexico. And here are the tamales. So here's just 3 of them right here. And how you eat them is you do not eat the corn husk. You take them out of the corn husk and then you eat them. And most people just serve them where they're in the corn husk, and then people just unwrap them as they need to eat, not actually plate them like you're seeing here. I only did that just to show you how they looked. But do you know, I completely forgot to share with y'all that you do want a salsa with this. And so I just made one of my typical red salsa with the pork. With the chicken, you'll probably want more of a green salsa, and she has those recipes on her website and in her cookbook. But you got to have a salsa with tamales. So that's the one thing that you do not see here. But here they are. They are absolutely beautiful, and these tasted so good. And these beans, I think, are now my favorite beans. It was literally like having Mexico back in my kitchen. And if you want to know more about Masienda, you can check out this video here of a full unboxing review, and then also this video to learn about nixtamalizing your corn. So hopefully this video was helpful, and enjoy your tamales. Let me know in the comments below which one's your favorite. And as always, y'all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.